from the Caribbean as well? Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. If you're new, my name is Nigel, and this is the Caribbean Culture and Insights channel. We're looking at taxes, at least talking about taxes. We're talking about understanding how to review your taxes when somebody does it for you. To do that, we're using Jane as an example. And so we have shown in part 2 how a simple tax return is filed for Jane as a single person. No children or child or dependents, just basic simple tax return, simple calculation. Now we want to look at filing another tax return for Jane as a single person and has a child. What does that look like when you're filing your tax return with a dependent? With this information, you should understand how to review your taxes when somebody does it for you. Okay? Before we jump in, don't forget to like, comments, share, and subscribe. Let's dive in. Here is Jane's W-4 that she did while she was single with no child. So now that she has a child, she come back to her W-4 and she needs to update it. Okay, so to update her form, she has to change from a single filing status to a head of household status. She comes down to the line where she can claim the dependent, and she follows an instruction here that says multiply the number of qualifying children under age 17. She add $2,000 there. Okay, and this line says to multiply the number of other dependents. She don't have any dependents, so that would be a 0, or you can leave it blank. And then when you add the two lines, what you end up with is $2,000. Okay, and that's that. That's all she needs for the update. She signs the form, date it, and then hand it to HR. HR then takes that information and do some calculation to figure out the amount of taxes that should come out of her paycheck. So HR use this form. It's called the wage bracket method, table for manual payroll systems with forms W-4. And this version of the form is from 2020 and later. So what HR would do is kind of plug in some information here to do the calculation. Since I can't type into this form, it's on a fillable form, pick up some information here and put it in a spreadsheet so I can type and show you what's going on there. So I'm going to go over to my spreadsheet, and that is what the spreadsheet looks like. We know that Jane makes $48,500 per year for her income, and so we take that and divide it by 26 weeks, and that gives us $1,865, and that is what we have here for the employee taxable income for that pay period. As we come down the line here, you'll see the 26, which is the pay period, the number of pay period, number of W-4 form from step 4A. Okay, so let's go back to her W-4 in step 4A and see what information do we have there. Okay, so step 4A is other income, and we don't have any other income from any other jobs. So we'll leave that blank. Okay, and so this 1865, this sort of like come all the way down here. Right? And so since there's nothing else to adjust the pay, the weekly pay, it ends up being the adjusted wage amount. Now you come down to where the section that calculates the withholding amount, the amount to take out of the paycheck. And so what you want to do to do that calculation, you want to use the withholding table to look up what range this falls under. That tells us what the tax rate is. Okay, so what you do, you come over to the tax table. No, I'm sorry, that's the wrong table. All right, so what we're going to do, the payroll tax table is down on this form. Need to scroll down to see it. All right, so we scroll down to this section here, looking for the 1865, and we are at 1865 here. So we want the section or the column that says at least 1865 and less than 1875. And this column here with the child, this is a single, we need head of household, right? Let's go up to see where head of household is. So this column here, which is 1, 2, 3 column. So head of household is the third column over. Come back down. 1865, 1, 2, 3. And so for the head of household, the amount of taxes that's supposed to come out of her paycheck bi-weekly is $216. Okay, so we come back to the worksheet and we put in the $216 here. All right, so, and now we said she has a child, and so the child says enter the amount for the W4 step 3. Okay, so we're going to go back to W4 step 3, and this is the amount that they're talking about, $2,000. Go back to the spreadsheet and we'll put it in. And so what this is telling us, that the amount of taxes that's supposed to come out of Jane's paycheck every bi-weekly period is $139. So the end of your pay stub would look like this. 139. Okay. Make sure that my formula is correct. Yeah. So her end of your pay stub would be, this would be the total amount of taxes that she paid out of her paycheck, $6,939. Right? All right. And then the other thing that would happen at the end of the year, Jane gets her W-2 form. So this is what her W-2 looks like. It reflects the total amount of taxes that came out of her paycheck during the year. So now we're ready to do her income tax as a head of household. Okay, so let me get this out of the way. Come back to the 1040 form. Here's her 1040. So her name is in there with it from what we did before. Check to make sure her name is correct, street address, and so forth. Come down here and put in her salary in line 1 for wages, $48,500. All right, and we want to add the name of the child, child Doe. Okay, and the child's social security number 2, 3, and then that 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Check the box over here to indicate that the child is a qualified child and you're taking the child tax credit. And so these are some lines asking about other situations throughout the year. And as we can see, this is a simple and straightforward tax return, just like before, so we don't need to worry about these. You can slow down the video and read what these lines are. Okay, so I'm going to come down here to where it says total income tax. I'm sorry, total income. So we're going to add that here because nothing else is going on that adjust the income. So 48,500. And adjusted gross income, no adjustment is made. Again, we said no complicated stuff. So, all right. So that's our adjusted gross income, which is the AGI, right? And now it says we need to get the standard deduction, which is along here. That's what we need in these fields. So you're going to come over and you look down the list for head of household, which is right there, and you see that is 18,800. So that's what we put in here, 18,800. And so we don't have anything to add in here, and this line says to add these two lines. Since nothing is here, it's nothing plus the 18,800, which then puts this, make sure I'm in the right line, to, all right. We're not doing any qualified business or anything again. Back, as we said before, it's a simple tax deduction. So when you add those two lines above, 12C and 13, which is 12C and 13, you end up getting the 18,800, right? And now you do the math to come up with the total income, or the, I'm sorry, you do the math to come up with, so we're going to do the math now to come up with the taxable income. And to do that, the instruction says subtract line 14 from line 11. So subtract line 14 from line 11 here. Take up my calculator. And I put in 48,500, subtracting 18,800. 27,700 is the result that I get. 29,000, I'm sorry, 700. I'm speaking in dyslexia. 29,700. All right, we finished with the first part of the form, then we scroll down to the second part. The second part says this is where her taxes go. So now we need to go look up the taxes that she owes, not what came out of her paycheck, what she owes, what the IRS says she owes based on her taxable income, based on this amount. So the way we get that, we're gonna go back to the tax table, which is here. You can look this up on the IRS website. Okay, I just downloaded a copy here. And we're gonna scroll down, and we've seen how we use this before, so I'm just gonna scroll right to the section that I'm looking for, which is 29,000 section. So I passed it, and we're over here. And so I'm looking for 29,700, that range. And let's see the column that I want. I want head of household, so it's the last column. Okay. So 29,700, at least 29,700, but not less than this. So scroll over. I probably should highlight. I'm on this column, guys. This is where I'm looking at. All right. So I'm gonna scroll over, and according to her taxable income, the total taxes that she owes is $3,277. Wait, no, I'm on the wrong line. I should be using the line below this line here. $3,283, not the line above. This is the line. This is the tax that we're picking up right there. Okay, so we take that 3283, come back to her 1040 form, and we plug it in here, 3283. the tax. Okay. We got it from the tax table, so we don't need to check any of these boxes. It didn't come from any of these forms here, the 8814 or the 4972. All right, so we're coming down the line. Since we don't have anything else going on, any complicated stuff, we're just going to look for the highlighted section, which is the total tax, and so you just bring that down here, 3283. Just for your curiosity, if we had other stuff going on in between here, it would either increase this number or decrease it. Okay, so we come down the line, and where it says federal income tax withdrawal from the form W-2, it's talking about her total amount of taxes that she paid out of her paycheck for the year. So we need to go to the W-2 to get that. Okay, and there's our W-2, and it's talking about this amount, $3,614. So we plug that in here, 3614. Okay, we don't have anything, we don't have any 1099 forms and or any other forms to include here. So what this says here, down here, just says to add these lines, and I think would be right here. Let's see, add these lines. Okay. So when you add up that lines, it's still 3614. Nothing to add it to. And now we don't have any sort of estimated payments or anything like that. So we'll just skip all of this and come down to here where it says total other payments. Actually, we did say she has a child, right? So for the child, the tax credit she gets for the child, I happen to know that it's $3,000, and you can look that up on the IRS website, and it's calculated in this schedule 8812 here. But since I know what it is, we don't have the time to go pull up this form and do all the calculation and everything. Okay, but you would need that form to show how you come up with the 3,000. I'm really thinking if I need to go get that form. What I'll do, you know what? I'll just put a link at the bottom of the video and show how I calculate, or I use this form to calculate the $3,000, okay? In the interest of time. So, all right. Refundable child tax credit is $3,000. So we add it there, okay. And so now when we come down here, this is telling us to add line 27A and 28 through 31, which is all of these lines here, okay. So when we add up all of that, it's the $3,000. That's the only thing over there. And then down here now, to get the total payment, the instruction says to add line 26D and 25D and all the other lines. All right, so we're going to add line 25D, 26 all the way through 32, which is all of these lines here. And so we're adding 3614 to 3,000, so that is 6614. All right, 14 there, 6 and 0 is 6, 3 and 3 is 6. Okay, that is the total payments. The amount of tax that she paid out of her paycheck plus the credit that she receives adds to the payment. All right, so then what else the form wants us to do? And so now it wants us to calculate any sort of overpayment to determine the amount refunded to you, or if you owe any amount down here. So the way we do that, let's see what it says here. if line 33 is more than line 24, which is this. Line 33, is it more than line, where's my line 24? 24? The answer is yes. So it wants us to do the subtraction. So get my calculator. Let's make sure I read that right. Get into my calculator, and I want to point something out here when I finish doing this calculation here. So 6614 minus I'm sorry, I'm picking up the wrong. See, that is exactly what I was going to point out to you. 24 is 6614 minus 3283, and my overpayment is 3,331, and so that is the amount returned back to her as the tax return. What I wanted to point out here is when you get down there, the reason I know these calculations, but the reason I read out the line for this video is to show you that it's a good practice to read the instruction to see what it says, because it's easy to make a mistake. And the mistake that you could make here, when you're supposed to subtract line 24 from 33, it's easy. If there's a child and you have something here, it's easy to come up here and say, oh, 6614 minus 3614. It's very easy for you to make that mistake, and that would be a terrible mistake. So you want to pay attention. Just double check the instruction for that line to make sure you did the right thing. All right? So, all right, we are finished with this tax return for Jane, who has a child and therefore is filing as head of household, and we see that her tax return is more than what we saw in the other tax return that we did. I think she got back like $2,900 and something dollars. Here she's getting back $3,331. All right, and so all she needs to do now is to fill in her bank information like before, so the IRS can deposit the money there. Check the little box for checking account. Scroll down, sign it, put in her, her occupation, and then she go back from the top and review everything, making sure that, well, let me back up here and put this into perspective. So the tax preparer is the one who fill out the form, not Jane, okay? So once everything is completed, the tax preparer would send the form to Jane, and now Jane would go through the form and review it. You need to do the same thing, okay? Check, make sure your name is correct, street address, social security number, and make sure that your child is included. The social security for the child is correct, and the box checked to say you're taking the child credit. Make sure those are checked off. Make sure that it has your correct wages. You can get that from the W-2 form, and then you can come down and follow the numbers and make sure that the math is correct. So wherever it's adding stuff, you make sure that it's correct. Okay. You do the same thing for the next page. In order to verify that this amount is correct, you would take the taxable amount and did what we did, and then go over to the tax table, and you look it up yourself to make sure that that amount is correct, because again, tax preparer make mistake. All right, and you keep coming down the line checking your numbers, checking to make sure that the amount that comes from your W-2 is correct. The way you do that, you look back at your W-2 and you see that it's 3614, and you said fine, that is good, and you track the number down for the child tax credit. Either you can Google it or something like that to verify that this is the amount. If you're not sure, you can call the tax preparer and say, hey, what is the child tax credit amount? I'm seeing that number again. I just wanted to double check. And they will tell you that number. You want to make sure that's what on the form. You track that number. You do the addition according to the line to make sure that the math is correct. Then you do the subtraction to make sure that your return is correct. And so that's how you review the form. Okay? One of the key things to look for when you're reviewing too is to make sure that your filing status has the correct filing status, head of household and not single. And you also want to make sure that the tax preparer picked up the correct standard deduction. It's easy to go along with this single standard deduction here, which would be $12,550. You want to make sure that it says head of household, which is down here, for $18,850. Okay, so if they made a mistake with that over here, you would end up paying more taxes, and therefore your return would be less. So that's why you want to check. And so once Jay finished reviewing, she signs, or she called the preparer and said, yes, everything is good, go ahead and e-file it, or if she's mailing it, just sign and mail it in. And that is what the 1040 tax return looks like for a single person with a child. All right, hope you like this video, hope it makes sense, hope you were able to follow, and don't forget to like, comments, share, and subscribe. Drop me a note at the bottom with any comments that you have or concerns, or if you see anything where you thought I made a mistake. If you are a little tax savvy, feel free to drop me a line to point it out. We can discuss. Okay, and remember that I said I'll put a link to the 8812 form with the child tax credit, just to satisfy your curiosity on how I come up with this 3,000. I mean, you can Google it if you want to, or search for it on the IRS website, and that will save you the time to go to the form. But since it's a tax return, this form will need to be attached to the tax return, so it makes sense for you to see what it looks like. All right, that's it, guys. I will catch you on the next video showing another scenario. Until then, bye. Marketing here from the Caribbean as well.